Stop you. Just start it. Hang on. It's got it. Live video. Can you hear me?
Hi there guys, welcome to AusArmour 2022. I'm Alex and Todd. We're happy to bring you guys our event this year and we're really excited to bring you a new format live stream. So our live stream is a question and answers session, so feel free to ask as many questions as you like while we show you off all the vehicles on our track today.
We're up here in the commentary box. It's a beautiful Cairns afternoon. There's a strong southeasterly blowing and we're watching the T-34-85 just roll past us now. What a fantastic tank this was. It was one of the mainstays of the Russian army, upgunned to 85 from 76mm in response to the German heavy armour. This tank continued to serve well beyond the Second World War, in fact was used in the Yugoslav campaign right up until the late 80s. Iconic vehicle.
The interesting thing with ours is you can see you can tell it's not a wartime one because they gave it headlights.
Yes.
Those wartime economy cuts were just ridiculous. What did they take out? Seats, they weren't important.
Yes.
Headlights weren't important. Ammunition stowage wasn't important.
But again, when these vehicles went into battle, of course, they pretty well lost all the things like lights and extra fuel tanks. These had to be put back on after the battle. Exactly. But a formidable tank. Wide tracks so it could cross marshy areas, and a fantastic 85mm gun which really gave the Germans some grief. The German Blitzkrieg in Operation Barbarossa, they didn't encounter these until about a month or two into the invasion, and then they started coming across T-34-76s. These were armed with a slightly smaller gun. And that changed the German armoured philosophy. They had to move up from Mark 3s to Mark 4s. And
go with the long 75s. I mean, even Guderian said that we're facing tanks that are far superior to anything we're fielding. And it completely blew the minds of German tactical commanders who the Adver had let them down and they didn't know what they were going into. And the only reason they were able to pull off the victories that they did early on with their tank forces is that the Russians broke their tanks apart. You don't see concentrated tank forces like you do with the Germans. Yep. And because they broke them up so far, they couldn't support each other, engaging in small engagements. And then you've got that key critical failure you see with early World War II tank designs. You don't have a dedicated commander in the turret. And when you don't have that dedicated commander who can't focus, no radio communication, your method of signals is kicking the driver in the back, it's very difficult to command a vehicle like that.
The Allies certainly learnt some harsh lessons at the beginning of the war. We were totally unprepared. The Germans would have to have been the most professional army at the time and had the best armoured tactics. But it didn't take long for the Allies to catch up, and the Russians.
Absolutely. And, bit of a jump from flag signals to crew radios.
Smoke. It's hard to contemplate from the armoured forces from 1939 through to 1945 how they were transformed and how they grew in the developments. We wouldn't see that these days. It takes years of R&D development to get anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of the early failings as well. I mean, you look at the French. The French, a lot of them had radios in their vehicles, but they were too scared to use it because they were worried the Germans would intersect their radio transmissions.
Yes, well, the French did have some good armoured vehicles, the Char B2, and well, very heavy. It was like the Matilda.
Yeah, the S35s, the Saumur, the Saumurs, sorry, the Char B1 bis and the Char B1s, as you were saying. I mean, you've got the story of Yuri at Ston. He charged straight through a French village and knocked out, I think it's something around 15 German tanks by himself, independent action. And you read some of those stories and you look at the whole French army as a whole, and it's really sad how, you know, the decisions of some have let down the majority.
Well, the British and French tactics of the day was to penny packet their armour and not concentrate it like the Germans did.
Exactly.
This enabled the Germans to get around and knock out those heavy tanks like the Matilda. So
exactly.
If the British had learnt to concentrate, could have been a different story, but the Germans were far superior during the Blitzkrieg.
So guys, as you see going around the track now, we've got our M8 Greyhound. So our Greyhound came from Holland. It's actually interesting, we'll have a little tidbit about it. It's got a signature inside from a member of Easy Company, 506th, 101st US Airborne, which is a nice little extra feature to the vehicle. I'm not sure why they've got the gun around backwards, but it's a fun vehicle. They're
mounting the 50 cal towards the front and the 37 around to the rear, and it's an interesting
configuration. Yeah.
Yes, but again, a very good, reliable armoured vehicle, and used all the way up into the 70s.
So to answer your question, John Doe, there, yes, as we did mention earlier, the T-34 is a post-war production. It's a Polish manufacture.
The French use these Greyhounds and a lot of American vehicles in their Vietnam conflict.
Did they use grenades?
Right up through the 50s, up until 56 when they were defeated at Dien Bien Phu.
Well, they flew Chaffees in there, didn't they?
They had M24 Chaffers.
They disassembled them, reassembled them on the airstrip.
Yep. And in fact, if you go to Dien Bien Phu today, the wrecks of those M24 Chaffees are in location on the battlefield where they were knocked out. The Vietnamese have erected little plaques to tell you the story of who the crew were and who knocked them out. It's quite remarkable.
You have to give credit to the Vietnamese. I've been to Vietnam twice now, and some of their museums are incredible. You know, a lot of the conservation work they do there on all sides of the conflict.
Absolutely. And they hold no grudge.
No.
When they've been in that many wars.
With that many people, what was it, the French, and then the Americans, and the Australians, and the South Koreans?
And the Chinese in 1975. Holy smokes.
And then the Chinese, you've got to tack it all up. So, William, thank you very much for your comments. We tried pretty hard here, and we're just happy that you guys are enjoying the stream today.
I can hear something very big over there behind the trees starting up.
I think that might be R85.
They might be just putting the T-34-85. Yes, there it is. Putting it back into its parking spot. The 37mm gun on the Greyhound. That was common to the Stuart tank, which the Americans had as well. By 1942, the gun was pretty well obsolete against most German armour.
You do get those odd stories, though, like the one with the King Tiger and the Ardennes.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's a fluke. That is an absolute fluke.
And those crews,
in the middle of night,
thankful they survived.
Middle of the night, pelting down snow, zoomed around a corner, had no idea it was there. And what else would you do but just fire everything you had on board?
Yep.
Interesting that they still use them in their intended role in the Pacific, though.
Oh, yes.
But when you're fighting the Japanese tanks, they're a lot less armoured, and you still riveted construction as well. They're just not as able to take the impact as well.
Mind you, we used Stuarts initially against the Japanese in Buna in New Guinea. They weren't ideal.
No, they weren't ideal.
We used them because they were light and we could get them round on the barges.
Yeah.
They couldn't bring the Matildas or the Grants, which initially they did want to use.
Just too heavy, far
They were just too heavy for the barges, so they brought the light reconnaissance M3 in, armed with a 37mm gun. Ultimately, it achieved the aim, and they broke the Japanese back at Buna with them, but it was costly.
Yeah,
the Japanese used anti-aircraft guns.
Well, they continued to do that, didn't they? In in Bougainville. They were using anti-aircraft guns against Matildas, weren't they?
Yes, so we'd learnt the lesson after after the initial campaign in Buna. We went on to use Matilda tanks. They're a heavy infantry tank, and they were perfect in the jungle.
So now on the screen there, guys, you can see our Panzer 38T. So we love the 38T. I think it's a pretty cool vehicle. This one came from Norway, bits and pieces from all over Norway. There's Peter there on the live stream. So you would have seen Peter in our Workshop Wednesday videos. You'll be very familiar with him. You'll probably spot a few of the guys in the videos in the live stream that you recognise from Workshop Wednesdays.
Yes, very popular vehicle. Saw most of the campaign from 39 through to 41. And then with its light 37mm gun, the Germans did lots of modifications to these tanks. We saw them with mainly equipped with Russian guns.
Yes.
Lots of action down there. And we're lucky this afternoon. The wind's keeping things quite cool. We've got a degree of cloud cover as well, so it's not baking for the crews who are down there trying to wrestle with the vehicles. Here we go.
Well, it's not actually German, CT6502.
Well,
it's Czech design, yeah. But it's interesting because the Czech design was so successful that they exported the design. So you see Swedish tanks being built of the same design with slight modifications, and the Hungarians built several hundred too under license.
Yeah.
Because you have both the 35T variant and the 38T, which is what you see in front of you here today.
It was a reliable tank.
Very good, reliable vehicle.
Again, obsolete.
Obsolete. But then you've got the very smart ideas. After the Germans went and saw, I don't remember what it's called, but that Romanian tank destroyer, where they went, a fact-finding mission went to Romania to have a look at a prototype, and they thought this is a great idea. So they went to the Czech factories that at this time weren't operating to build any armoured vehicles because they were already obsolescent. So they went, can you manufacture vehicles that don't require heavy machinery in the tank destroyer role? So they reconfigured the chassis, and you've got the 38T, or what we call the Hetzer. And the whole condition of that contract was that you cannot need heavy machinery because otherwise you can't build it in your factories.
What a great tank the Hetzer was, used by many nations post-war.
I wouldn't want to be a crew in one though.
Still running around in the 80s.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be a crew in one.
It's got a good turn of speed. It sounds great. It's got its original engine. I had a close look at this one today. Very basic inside. Kicking up a bit of dust now with the wind. Yeah, I think he's about to change gear. Just losing power on the turn. Here we are. It's come to a stop. What a remarkable collection Rob's got here at the museum. Last time we were here it was 2019, just before COVID. Coming back this time, there's about 50 new vehicles. Full-time mechanics keeping them all going well.
We have a team of 18 full-time staff down here, including staff and our museum employees. So we're a pretty big team.
It's a remarkable collection. I've not seen this since Tankfest, Bovington Tank Museum.
Well, we did the figures a while ago, and from what we can tell, we're the largest private collection on public display in the world, and we're the 4th largest public display of military equipment of this kind.
Well, Jay, just have a look on screen now. Look at those German vehicles, starting with the Panther. Holy smoke!
Panther.
Where the hell else are you going to see a collection like this?
Exactly.
All running, and they've all been running today. And yeah, the only vehicle which we've had an issue with is the Kettenkrad.
Yeah, well, the fuel pump died on that one.
A minor problem, fuel pump, but holy smoke! Look, we got the SU-152 going out.
Yes.
What a phenomenal vehicle. I read about the actions in Hungary, where the King Tigers came up against this, and it was a formidable duel.
Well, they weren't intended for that role, and you end up with, especially with the Russian stuff, is a lot of your field testing is done in the field. You know, once a vehicle was accepted, they put them into the field a lot of the time, and they'd find out all these interesting aspects about them that made them more viable or usable in roles they weren't intended. And particularly with that, I mean, your high explosive power of those shots alone can just shatter the vehicle.
Yep. Like all Russian equipment, phenomenal, reliable, built to last, not over-engineered, and built to be driven by the peasants at the time. Look at that come around. Those tracks, holy smoke.
It's very annoying, actually. I went and had a good look at the track the other day, and most of it's the early model track, but there's two pieces, one on each side of the late model track.
Yep.
And it gets me every time I see it. I just want to swap it out. You can see, unfortunately, we've had to cut a big hole in the side of the gun to make sure that it applies with Queensland firearms legislation, but
look, here it comes now. You can almost feel the ground pounding under you.
You can.
This is a late addition to the museum. It's only come in this year, and what an amazing addition it is. Where did Rob pick this one up from?
Oh, this one came from the Czech Republic, came from a good dealer that we've got over there. We've got a very good relationship with. So this vehicle was originally an ISU 152. It was then cut down and turned into a recovery vehicle, and then it was found and rebuilt into a proper ISU 152. So all the plates original that was found in a scrapyard, it was just reassembled onto the vehicle at a later date.
There's a very good YouTube clip of one of these being recovered from a village in Russia, fairly recently, probably within the last 10 years. And the crew which went to recover it, that was just being used as a gate guard somewhere. Managed to get it going in a couple of hours.
Oh,
and,
definitely.
Drove it onto a transport.
That's very true.
Away.
We do apologise. When we do refer to Russian with the World War II vehicles, we do mean Soviet. We haven't forgot the Kazakh republics, Ukraine, Belarus, and all the other nations that did make up the USSR. So we do apologise for that. That's just a little error on our part. Or Fitzy, the gun mechanism has been completely disabled, so there is no breech block. The breech has been cut, and we have holes drilled in the barrel. So there's no way we could ever operate any of the weapons again. So you can see he's gone a little bit wide on the track there.
Yeah, he's trying to manoeuvre back.
He's got to go through that ditch and hopefully not get bogged. I don't think he will, but...
He's taken it a little wide, hasn't he? Oh, here he comes. Yeah, it's remarkable. Yep, he's hanging on there while he changes gear. I know what that's like, having just got out of the Firefly and changing gears. Yeah, you actually need to hang on and put a bit of effort into it.
Oh, well, Paul, the laws are there to make everyone feel a little bit safer, and as long as they save at least one life, it's worth abiding by them. Even if it is sometimes a little bit difficult, or some people may see it as silly. At the end of the day, we want nothing more than to make sure that everyone at AusArmour and everyone in the community is safe. Well, actually, Paul, you say that, but inside AusArmour we have one of the largest ammunition collections in the world. We have everything from King Tiger rounds all the way down to cannon rounds from German aircraft. So we have one of everything here. Exactly, Hellcat. The amount of work that the boys put into at the workshop just to make sure all these vehicles can keep running, as well as rebuilding new vehicles from battlefield wrecks. Even though the guns will never fire again, it's better to have that piece of history preserved, don't you think, Todd?
These guys are bloody magicians.
They
really are.
Absolutely.
And what they've done rebuilding the Tiger One, holy smoke.
Oh, well, you wait till. I think we're going to sneak peek for you guys today on the stream, but we have an upcoming project, which I think will be going over to Bo and Glenn's workshop. That's going to be very impressive. Very, very impressive Soviet piece of machinery, which we haven't announced yet, or we will be announcing soon. So if you want to have a think about it and have some guesses of what it could be, have a go at it.
We'll let you know.
Well, I'm not sure we can tell them yet, but what I can tell you guys is it is a Soviet vehicle. It is a Soviet vehicle that does not exist at this current point of time outside of Russian museums. The only other examples are in Russian museums. So this is a very exceptionally rare piece. It's one of only 3 in the world.
Yes.
So it's going to be very interesting when we announce what that one is.
Yes, well, getting all the pieces, putting them together like a jigsaw puzzle, which is what they've done with a lot of these German vehicles. But yeah, it will be spectacular. And
well, you saw the wreck in the museum, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yep.
we can't say what it is, but if you came to the museum, you'll be able to see it.
I think it's been on the range for a while.
It was on a French range.
A French range. Well,
So
they punched numerous holes through it.
Interesting that it was on a French range, though, isn't it? Because what we've discovered is the vehicle was at Stalingrad, and it was knocked out at Stalingrad by the
Right.
Germans. It's then been taken to Germany, obviously, we assume, and it actually has traces of German paint all over the vehicle. So we think that the vehicle's been repainted, maybe used as a training vehicle. We're not sure. Maybe even pushed into service with a second-line unit. It is possible. The French have then found this vehicle, taken it back to France, thinking, oh, it's a German trophy. But then when they realised it wasn't German, they didn't bother to include it on their trophies register, and they dumped it on an army range and shot at it. For 60 years in Brittany.
Well, that's what happened. But
Exactly.
I must say, all over the world, we've recovered
Exactly.
wrecks off the range.
Incredible exhibits off ranges.
And the Jagdpanzer, which the Imperial War Museum has, that was recovered off a range.
But Vince, it isn't an IS-3. It's a Russian tank, but it's not an IS-3. A Klement Voroshilov. That would be a nice addition. Hopefully it is that. Maybe you guys will find out soon. So on the screen now you can see Rob and Daryl, and then you can see the ISU 152 backing up there.
Impressive
What
turn
a
of
big
speed
monster.
there in reverse.
It's not easy to control, that one. That's why that vehicle's gone out one of the last ones, because it's just too tricky for us to
here we
manoeuvre
are.
on the track
we
by
have
itself.
the crew here with the M8. There's Rob giving some final directions.
So we've got a great team of guys up for AusArmourfest. We've got volunteers from across the country. So Todd, you came up from Sydney. We've got people from New South Wales, from Victoria, from Tasmania. We've got people from all over the country that have come to help out for AusArmourfest just because of their love of armoured vehicles.
Big team here from the Australian Armoured Vehicle Association.
Absolutely.
Obviously, they've got some of the skill sets to help drive and crew and act as safety supervisors. But yeah, I think this would have to be one of the highlights of everyone's year who's involved.
Oh, absolutely. It's in my calendar.
Oh, where else could you come to drive and see and hear and feel and smell?
And especially everyone for Saturday, Sunday, when we not only drive the vehicles, but you can go ride in them.
Yep.
You know, I don't think there's any other museum in the world that offers the ability to buy a ticket and go jump in a tank.
Well, everyone gets that opportunity tomorrow.
Exactly.
And let's not forget the one lucky punter.
Yes.
The door prize today, who gets
Yes.
to ride in the Panther during
Yes.
the final parade.
So with the Panther,
Wow.
we offer 1 ticket for sale for each day. So we sell 3 tickets. And then we offer 3 tickets as lucky door prizes. So when you come into the museum, the first 300 attendees will get a schedule of the day's events. And that schedule has a number.
Look, there's the Panther now.
There it is there.
Holy smoke, having that in Australia,
Oh.
how good is that?
And it's got such a rich history too. I mean, 12th SS, Normandy,
Yep.
knocked out by Canadians, 6-pounder round through the transmission, knocked off, I think it was the front drive and a few of the road wheels on the left-hand side. You know, it's a war veteran.
It has been lovingly restored.
Absolutely.
It's taken years.
Still got a
years
few
to
little,
get here.
still got a few little teething problems, but it's German, so what do you expect?
As they all do. As they all do. I remember when we first started coming up here, back in 2000, I think 17.
Mm-hmm.
And the teething problems we had. Rob didn't have a full-time mechanic, and
No.
these days were. Yeah, we had broken down vehicles, broken tracks.
Well, we've just got a second one on. We've just got a second full-time mechanic. So we've got 2 full-time in-museum mechanics, and we also have our apprentice.
Yeah, no, it's a very professional outfit now, and I think you're going to see more and more visitors coming, not from just around the states of Australia, but coming from
Internationally.
I
Absolutely.
mean, where else? Where else could you? I don't know. I can't. There's probably a handful of places where you can actually get to ride on these vehicles. No, it's a great event.
So Blitzer, can't wait to see you here tomorrow. Hopefully you're going to go for a few rides. So Michael McLaren, we already have a T60 in the museum. Funnily enough, we have a T60 and a T70.
And a T55.
And a T55.
There's not much they don't have.
SU100. We've got 2 variants of the T26. We've got the dual machine gun turret and the single with the 45.
SU-76. All the Russian light tanks.
Yeah. So T60, T70, and then we've also got a whole big collection of those Soviet artillery pieces.
Hi, Mum.
Ah, there he is. There's the eye candy on the screen. There's Bo from AusArmour. So you can see everyone's come down to the net there. Get ready for when the Panther starts up. That thing's going to be monstrous.
A lot of action. The crowds are sort of beginning to...
I mean, when you hear a Panther start up for the first time, you want to be next to it.
Oh, yes. Well, we're lucky. We're just above it.
Well, the funny thing was the other day they did an inertia start inside the museum, so they did the full wind up like you see in all the memes, everyone.
Yep.
That Panther's our Panther, that one in all the memes. But they did an inertia start inside the museum, which you should have seen on Workshop Wednesday, and when they did that, I saw about 30 people run for cover. They all ducked simultaneously. They just bobbed straight down. They went down to their ankles. It was absolutely hilarious.
I mean, just have a look at the size of it. Look at everyone standing around it. Holy smoke. The hull is above everyone's head. It's an enormous tank, and what a great gun. High velocity 75mm gun. Basically could take out any Allied tank from about 2,000 metres. Yeah. Great frontal armour. Not so thick on the sides and the back. But gee, if in a battle, you know, it could take out Shermans, Cromwells, anything the Allies had at 2,000 metres.
Absolutely.
And they, well, initially we saw it on the battlefields at Kursk, 1943.
With the D models that caught fire and broke down.
Oh boy. You know, yeah, I mean the Germans rushed them out, and they delayed the battle for 8 days, or Hitler did,
so they could
until they could get the Panthers there, and that probably changed the course of the battle. They might have won if they hadn't waited. Yeah. But certainly the performance of the Panther was not good at the battle.
Definitely not.
But the Germans, being the Germans, they rectified those problems. They recovered a lot of tanks, and you know, by the time 44 came around, it was a phenomenal tank.
Absolutely. You do see though a lot with the manufacturing. Ours in particular, when they pulled apart the engine, they found cigarette butts in the cylinders.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of the time these vehicles were being made in factories with indentured servants. You know, you've got French holiday workers. You've got unfortunate people that are in concentration camps, and they're building these vehicles and they're trying to sabotage it in ways that aren't going to cause problems immediately. Because the Germans took the Panthers out, they ran them for 2 kilometres before they said, yep, they're all fine to go. So they did a lot of really sneaky things to try and make the vehicles break once they got to the front line, so they didn't get blamed.
And the supply line of raw materials coming in from Finland and Norway. So by the time 45 came around, the standard of armour was not as good.
It just went through the floor. You can see on the screen there now, guys, we've got our reenactors out in the field. So we get a good group of guys that come up from all across the country, and they come along and give a bit of extra life to AusArmourfest.
Hope that wasn't a COVID cough I saw there.
Oh, no. Don't say it. Don't say it. Yes, friendly unknown. The Panther was prone to trap shots. So you see towards the end of the Gs, the later G models, they actually have a completely different gun mantlet at the bottom to try to prevent that shot trap.
Yeah, and that was an early problem with the first model Panthers. Those shots would go down, and they had 6 rounds, high explosive rounds or armoured piercing rounds stored just below them, just behind the driver.
Oh, William Kirchmeier. Yes, it is not a 251. It is an 11-1 flak half-track. So they only made 600 of these, and they are slightly different to the 251. They're wider. If you look at them from the front, you can see they're completely different, but from the side, they look very similar. Mounts a 20mm flak, not 37. If memory serves me correctly, that's a 20mm, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is the only one left in the world. So, which is lovely, but it's also a bit of a shame. It's almost like it's a bit lonely because it is the only one left.
Well, it's in the perfect place to be preserved with the rest of these German beasts. sense of anticipation. Here we go. One of the restorers, I believe, out from England. They're going to be running the Panther this afternoon. Yes, the crews are getting ready. Some public announcements going out and over the mic. They're looking for the person who won the Lucky Door prize, who's going to ride in the Panther.
To the front, please. Gerald Hines to the Panther, please. Thank you.
Gerald Hines, is he the lucky punter? He is the lucky? No? Right. We're getting a good look inside at the restoration job of the Panther.
It's pretty impressive inside.
You'd almost eat your breakfast off it, couldn't you? There's the bloke with the camera. Yes, for those of you who are in the Cairns sort of Townsville area, you should definitely come up here tomorrow. We'll be open at gates open at 9.
Yep.
And we'll be running rides for everyone till about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The only stop some of the bigger vehicles will make will...
That's the ARV kicking in on the other side of the museum.
Yep.
You won't be able to see that on the screen, but we just heard
will
that
be the fuel
here.
stops and lunch stops. Yes, I can see the camera rotating around, but we've got the ARV in the museum. I think it's going to be making its way down the ramp. Weather forecast tomorrow, again, a bit cloudy, maybe a little bit of rain. That won't hurt. It'll keep the dust down.
So Jimmy Jones, the StuG is part of our permanent collection. So all the vehicles here at the museum are part of the permanent collection, with the exclusion of one Leopard tank that's on loan from the Australian Army, one artillery piece that's on loan from the Australian Army, and one AC-1 Sentinel, which is held in conjunction with World of Wargaming.
Yes, on your screen now you're looking inside the Panther tank, and just prior to this scene you saw the ARV Leopard tank coming out, tank recovery vehicle. Look at those gauges.
So Michael McLaren, depends on the vehicle. So with Soviet stuff we can sort of get original components. With some of the German stuff we can too. But the problem is especially with our rebuild projects, for example, a good one's the Panzer 4J. We can't source an original Maybach, we can't source original drives, we can't source those components because they're either held in other collections that won't let go of them, which is completely fair, or they're just so expensive that they cost more than the whole vehicle does put together. So with a lot of our vehicles, the German ones in particular, the rebuild projects, we do use non-original engines and drive systems. So for example, the Panzer 4J utilises British 432 components on the interior. So it uses a British 432 diesel, and it uses the 432 control system and drive system as well. That's what we use for some of our German vehicles. But again, it's on a case-by-case basis. If we get a good vehicle that's got original components, we'll do our best to use as many as possible.
Well, I'm just having a look around this morning. There are some German tanks here with original Maybach engines. Holy
absolutely.
smoke.
We've got the Panzer 4D's got its original Maybach that belongs to the vehicle. The Panther's got its original Maybach. The 11-1, the flak half track we talked about earlier, has got its original engine and drive components in there too. The RSO's got an original engine, the RSO Pack 40, which isn't out on the museum track today due to some electrical problems, but that's got its original engine. So does the Kubel, the Swimwagon, the Zundapp. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of vehicles that do.
Yeah, have a look at that. And the great camouflage design, which I think came out in the 1944. Was yellow-based paint because all the factories had been bombed. So every tank which came out from production was basically desert yellow, and they applied sparingly red, brown, and green on, and you had that very distinctive pattern, which we know sort of as the Normandy camouflage pattern or the ambush pattern. Big gatherings down there now. Look at that.
They must just be waiting for something just to start off the parade today.
Yeah, I know what they're waiting for.
What are they waiting for today?
The Panther.
Well, they are waiting for that because the Panther is going to lead our grand parade today. So I'm not sure if we're just waiting on one of our ticket holders to jump on board or what we're waiting for today. That could be him. Well, that's
He's
one
in
there.
socks.
There's one. Oh, the Panther is a no-shoes vehicle.
It is too precious.
It is a no-shoes policy on the Panther, because if you're not careful with shoes, you can tear the Zimmer. You can see that one of the staff members there does have shoes, but that's one of the famous twins, famous from combat dealers in the UK with Bruce Crompton, so that is one of the world-famous twins.
I think he'll be driving that today, shortly.
Yes, he will. So the twins have come over from the UK they've been here for about 9 days now, and they're staying until Wednesday. Just a little bit of extra touch-up work on the Panther, and hopefully it was hoped that we could get the Hetzer out, but unfortunately the problems with that were just a little bit too complex for us.
Well, you're always going to get problems with 80-year-old vehicles.
Absolutely.
It's just remarkable what they've managed to get out on the field.
Absolutely. And that's another vehicle that's got an original engine.
That's right. Yep, and the Hetzer used to be the sort of the mainstay when we first started coming back up here in 2017-18. The Hetzer was really the only original German tank here. Certainly the one which was operational and running. Here we go. You can hear over the side. Is that the Panther starting up?
Yep. So there goes the Panther. So there we go, we've got two of our riders in there. I can't see the third.
Yes. Great shots, the Panther. Look at that smile.
Oh, he's happy.
I think we're going to see an impressive lap here.
We're really excited to have you guys come in this weekend, especially to go for the rides on some of the vehicles, because we've got a really good lineup this year. It's going to be a really good weekend.
Certainly worth the cost of an airfare and hotel accommodation just to come up here and do this. It's a one-off, and I think it's going to tick a lot of people's bucket list.
Yeah.
Cheaper than going to Europe, where you might get to see them, but you don't get to ride in them.
No, because I think the only opportunity you could in Europe is if you're lucky enough to win the raffle for the Bovington Tiger, or if you went to Millitracks in Holland.
There goes the Panther. I'll have to stand up and watch it moving out. Everyone's taking photos, including me. What a sight! What an awesome sight!
Absolutely.
Original Maybach engine. Here are all the vehicles starting up. Down there in the distance you can see the M36 Jackson tank destroyer coming onto the track as well.
The noise of these vehicles alone just going around the track is just musical. It's just incredible.
Feeling a bit sorry for Ken, the groundsman. Look at that grass that the Panther's tearing up.
Ken's going to be very upset at us, I think.
Ken's over there looking on in horror. Here we go. What a sight. The Mark IV joining the convoy.
Paul, the Panther turret does work, but it doesn't go all the way around. It can only go to 45 degrees each side, as it is missing some of the traverse elements.
And again, another beautiful restoration. StuG 4.
Oh, that noise. Well, SK, it's just the tracks, German tracks have these little indentations on these little notches so that they can grip the ground better. So when they drive it through grass and dirt, it just churns up the ground. So you'll see probably later on in the stream where the Panther's driven, you'll just see this just chunks out of the ground. It's just completely, you can imagine getting a shovel and scraping off all the surface layer. That's what it's done.
Look at these, all the vehicles getting formed into a convoy line for the grand parade.
There's the D, there's the 11-1, there's the J, there's the Panther, and there's the Leopard ARV. It's there for our little backup vehicle in case something doesn't go perfectly.
Here's a good shot of the Mark IV with the 75mm gun. Originally designed to combat infantry and fortifications, but once the Allies started to upgun their armour, the Mark IV had a big enough turret ring that it could take bigger and bigger guns.
Exactly. And then there's the SU. The SU's a beautiful vehicle.
Here we go. Now this is going to be a feat.
Absolutely.
Are we going to have a breakdown?
Fingers and toes.
This will be a great spectacle.
Absolutely.
Picture of our Russian reenactors. Father and son, I believe. Good picture of the M36 Jackson, yes. Jason, how are you? And M3A1 Stuart, right behind the Jackson.
I did love the Stuart.
Yes, beautiful little tank.
I mean, you see them in almost every theatre of war, excluding, you know, your invasion of France and Poland. They were present in Russia, North Africa, the Pacific. Italy, Sicily.
Yeah, well, Burma, India, all those places.
They even landed them into Yugoslavia for the partisans to use. They formed tank units to fight the Germans.
British loved them, nicknamed them the Honeys. What you see there is the later version. The earlier version had no turret basket and had a only one hatch up in the top, and had a crew of 5, would you believe? Very slow and cumbersome. But the Americans modified it with the M3A1, which is that model down there. So it had a turret basket. They reduced the crew to 4. They put 2 hatches so you could actually escape. Very difficult for the driver to get out of there. He has to crawl up through the turret basket to climb out the top. Humber armoured car down behind the Stuart. Another impressive picture there of the M36 Jackson.
I do love our Jackson.
Yeah.
You can see us all lined up, ready to go. It's a bit of an organisational feat to get everyone lined up, everyone ready, nothing broken down.
Well,
ready to go around the track.
I've noticed some of the silence up the front there. They've switched. Oh, here we go.
There we
Panther
go.
starting up. That's probably a signal that they're
There's
almost
Alex
in
and
line
Stuart.
and ready to go.
And there goes
Here we
Panther.
go.
We're off.
What a sight.
And there we go.
The Kettenkrad led by Rob right out the front. Here we go.
So blood for the bold god. The Schwimmwagen.
It's going to be
was out earlier, but,
a slow
it's hiding out there
journey
somewhere
around
now.
the
It'll
track with the
appear during the
Panther.
parade.
It's a big, heavy beast to move. And some of these corners are quite tight.
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, no, every like helps, guys. And make sure you check out our workshop Wednesdays too. So CT6502, we have a Sherman Firefly, which unfortunately went in earlier today. And we also have a Sherman M4A1. So Aki Hyde, we don't have an M10. That's a M36 Jackson. So contributor, completely understand what you're saying there with the ARV, but ours isn't actually an Australian one. Ours actually was an Italian service. So it's got a slightly different designation, but I completely understand where you're coming from. So Lottie Ankles is in the Chenillette, the little French one. She's the only one that would fit, so we stuck her in there.
What a great little vehicle that is.
Looks great. They're all going around the bend now. Oh, we got a little
Yep.
traffic jam with the J. J has a little bit of trouble turning left sometimes.
Well, as does the Panther. But look at that.
But it's turning beautifully right now.
It is.
So if you are watching us on Facebook, we do apologise for the delay with the stream and the late start. However, we did have some technical issues here. So if you're interested in watching back what we talked about before, make sure to jump onto our YouTube and have a look there. It's got the whole live stream present. Wow, absolutely incredible. So the Jagdpanzer nose is really, really heavy. Where is the Jagdpanzer? If you notice, actually, you can tell how heavy it is because you can see all the road wheels are rubber except for the front four, 2 on each side. And that was because there was so much weight in the front of the vehicle that it would perish the rubber on the tyres, on the road wheels. So they replaced the first 4 with pure steel ones that were much tougher. So, Blood for Blood God, we don't have any regular 251s or 250s out on the track today. We do have a collection of 251s and 250s in the museum, but they're not running vehicles. We will have some more 251s arrive at the museum later on this year, early next year, and they will be running. So Nick Champ, we're at least a few years away from a running Tiger. We're really not sure when we'll get to that one. As we were saying earlier in the stream, we have some really exciting projects that are still a little bit top secret. We'll have to check after the stream today to whether or not we're allowed to tell you, but we have a very, very interesting Soviet restoration coming up. We've also got our Welded Grant, which you may have seen sneak peeks of on YouTube. That's next as well for Daz and Jess. We've still got to finish off the StuG 3, and we have Panzer 1 and a whole bunch of World War I German artillery on the way as well. Sorry, CT6502, we do have an M4A1, but it does not run.
this the...
That's live now. So you can see all of the Jagdpanzer 4 and all the other incredible vehicles we get out on the track there.
This is the live one.
So we take it slow going around the track. So because we do that, you can spend a bit of time looking at all the different vehicles. Exactly, Jimmy Jones, you saw at the end of the workshop vids, that is a welded Grant. So that's going to be a really fun restoration when we're done with that one with the twin diesel engines. So this is the Panzer 4D going around. That is a really lovely vehicle, that one. And that vehicle came out of Germany. It was shot up in France, and then it got taken back to Germany, used as a training vehicle, left the engine in it, and after the war they used it to fill a ditch, and it got excavated and restored. And there you've got the Jackson and the Stuart, and then the Humber coming around too. I do love the Humber Mark IVs, the 2-pounders. They are just a really nice looking vehicle, very aesthetic. So yes, guys, Nicholas Moran, the Chieftain, is floating around the museum somewhere. We're not sure where he is, but he's out somewhere on the field. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Ours is not an AVRM. It's not the Australian configuration, it's the Italian configuration, that one there. Well, Simon, we might have to try get him on the live stream in the next couple of days and get some film of him on the track somewhere. So we got our camera guys out on the field, so that's why you haven't seen Kurt from AusArmour yet. He's actually the one holding the camera out there on the field, and we're jumping back now to our high point camera from us here in the bird's nest. And you can see what the tracks do to the ground there. It's pretty bad, isn't it?
Oh yes.
We're going to be in a lot of trouble with Ken, the groundskeeper. So you guys all should know who Ken is. Ken drives the water truck, and Ken levels out the track. So he drives around the little Bobcat you would have seen in last year's stream.
Ken's the most important person here.
Exactly.
We've got the Panther lining up for the bath at the moment. It's going to be put away first. Here we go. Boys have got the hoses on. Just going for a little dip, wash all the dust off her.
Absolutely. So the museum built the wash bay there with the idea of getting our vehicles nice and clean before we take them in. It means that less cleaning for us and less work overall. Well, not so sure. We could be playing Panzer League right now, but that would sort of drown out all the beautiful engines. So we don't really want to do that, because a lot of the reason why people come here is to hear these vehicles.
So they'll be put away for the night and then got back out again tomorrow.
So Lord Mahek, we do have a Centurion. It does have some technical issues, and it's in the list of things to get fixed up, but we haven't got to it yet. And you can see there, guys, on the film where we run around and try to blast out all the mud and the dust with the hoses and clean the vehicle up as best we can before we take her inside. So Sven, the Humvee isn't actually heading out today. So the Humvee will be heading out, I think, let me just check the days and the schedules. The Humvee will be heading out on Saturday, so tomorrow. And that's a Tier 3 ride vehicle. Well, thank you very much for your kind words, Dustin. You can see how much stuff accumulates up in the tracks there, you would have seen just before. So that's why we've really got to get in there with the hoses and clean it up. And there's our little Schwim. So as mentioned before, the Schwimmwagen is here, and she is absolutely gorgeous. So the Schwim actually came from Australia. So the Schwimmwagen was brought over from Europe sometime soon after the Second World War, and It's remained in Australia ever since. It apparently has swum across Sydney Harbour at least once. There's a whole bunch of other mythical stories about it, but not until yet, we're not quite sure of what its history is.
It's probably not going in the bath today, as it'll probably float.
Well, exactly. That's what it's supposed to do. We haven't tested it in water yet. I'm not sure I'd be brave enough to do that, especially.
I certainly wouldn't be taking it out across the lake.
Yes.
And if it went straight to the bottom, you'd be wearing the ire of Rob, no doubt.
I wouldn't want to risk it. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near water with that thing. So only a couple of minutes left of the live stream, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask before we kick off, and we get back to all the jobs we need to do to get ready for tomorrow.
Yes, given the vehicles which we've had out today, I mean, tomorrow's going to be a huge day. Weather should be good. Not too hot. And mechanically, these things are running like a dream.
Except for something that's broken down in that back corner. I wonder what that is. I think that looks like the SU.
It's the T34. It's
no, the behind the T34. Can you see what I'm saying?
I can't see it from my vantage point.
There you go, guys. There's a lineup. We've got the StuG, Jagdpanzer 4, Panzer 4G, and the Jackson all lined up in a row, ready for their washes. So what are we looking at there? So we've got the T34 there, and I can't quite tell what's behind it. There is the SU-76 up there in the corner.
SU-76.
Well, the SU-76 is a little bit underpowered. They should have 2 engines in sequence, but ours only has 1 original engine, and that's it. So it can still perform, but it's very underpowered.
Right, he's driven off the track, so he must have
must have had a problem and taken himself off the track to prevent a traffic jam. So Bearcat, no, unfortunately you can't. But if you are worried about parking, just do make sure that you get here earlier in the day. There is overflow parking available with a short walk to get to the museum, so you should be able to get a park. Thank you, Michael and Graham and Gregory, for your kind comments. There's that 11-1 I was talking about earlier. It's an exceptionally rare vehicle, that one. One of one in the whole world.
Wow. I had a close look at that yesterday.
That one featured on Bruce Crompton's Combat Dealers, I believe.
Yeah.
What a really exceptional vehicle. And you can see from the front, as I was talking about earlier, it doesn't look like a 251. From the side it does, and from the top it does, but when you see that front, it's a very different front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got that extra panelling, different shapes. It's very, very different. So to the fellows that were asking about that before, you can sort of see it now. That's why it just looks really different. So Vinny, we'll have the stream up tomorrow. Make sure to check our Facebook and our YouTube for the times. But it's in the morning tomorrow.
Boys are working hard cleaning the Panther down.
We want to make sure that one's clean.
Yep.
I think our strips are about that. I think we're actually modelled off. We modelled a lot off that Packer does in that respect. But the concrete pads we've got for the museum floor, I think Rob went and got the builders to do the thickest possible concrete slabs they would do for us. So and even then we're taking chunks out of them, but we haven't had any major cracking yet. So and we've put a lot of weight on them. So it's holding out for now. You can see we've started to get a little bit quieter here at AusArmour with the end of the day, but we've still got a good crowd of people there, and some of those faces I recognise from this morning, so there's lots to see throughout the day. So Max Chappell, when you're talking about easiest tank, you can go pretty simplistic or you can go pretty complicated with what you call simple. You can go for effectiveness or for cost. But probably one of the easier vehicles here in the museum when you're talking about economies of scale and versatility is probably the Su-76. And then you've taken or the Hetzer probably, you've taken an out-of-date design, you've rejigged it, and used existing tooling and equipment to produce a vehicle that's very effective at a specific or a multi-purpose role like the SU at a very economical cost. Yeah, the Captain, the steel track really does eat into it.
Yeah,
thanks, Michael. We're happy you enjoyed the stream.
Can you feel the vibration as the
exactly? You
as
feel the
Panther
whole
moves
tower
into the
shaking.
building? Yes,
the whole tower
on the concrete.
shakes.
Yep. Just below us, just
Absolutely.
going through. There we are. Good view of us up in the commentary
You can
box.
see us up here.
Here we are.
Hey guys, how are you today?
What a great day.
So we've got
Sun's
a couple
shining in.
Oh, it's getting warm though. It's starting to
Yep.
get warm. I think I should have put sunblock on. I think that might have been a good decision. You're starting to get a little bit red too, but you were driving the Firefly this morning, weren't you?
Yeah,
this
that's right.
afternoon too.
Oh, it was a
So we
great-
did have the Firefly out, but we were having some light problems with it, so we took it in a little bit early just to make sure Todd could get up here on the stream as well.
Yeah, what an amazing vehicle that was.
So Alaskan Patriot, we won't be able to get our Goliath running. It's so delicate and it's got so much corrosion inside that we've had to treat that if we try to run it, it'll probably just pull itself apart. So we've left that as is. A friendly unknown, the L333 or CV33. We do love the Italian vehicles, but unfortunately we just haven't been able to find any yet. Sorry, we've just been told we've got to wrap
we're getting
things
some
up.
hand signals down there.
We've just been told, we've been given the hand signals, we've got to wrap things up, guys. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
What a great afternoon it's been.
Thank you very much for being here with us today, and we
Yep.
look forward to having you all tomorrow on the stream. And
Yep.
fingers crossed we'll get things started a little bit easier for the Facebook people,
Yeah.
and can't wait to see you then.
Look forward to it.